Hi there and welcome. Most of us are carrying something heavy. It could be a painful memory, a regret, maybe a frustration that just won't go away. In this explainer, we're going to gently unpack that weight together. We'll be walking through the core ideas of Damon Zahariades' The Art of Letting Go, but think of this less like a lecture and more like a journey toward finding some real peace and emotional freedom.
This quote from Hermann Hesse really sets the stage perfectly for our whole conversation. It kind of flips what we're taught to believe about strength on its head, right? We think being strong means gritting our teeth and just holding on tighter. But what if real strength, the kind that brings you peace, is actually found in the courage to release?
All right, so here's our roadmap for this journey. We've broken it down into 5 parts. First, we'll talk about the power of letting go. Then, we'll dig into why it's so darn hard to do in the first place. We'll look at the real price we pay for clinging to things. And then, the most important part, we'll get into the practical steps, the how-to. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the incredible freedom that's waiting on the other side. So let's start with part 1, the power of letting go. And I really want you to pay attention to that subtitle. This is so important. This process is not about giving up or admitting defeat. It's an active, powerful choice you make to reclaim your own peace of mind. So what does letting go even mean? Well, at its core, it's really about acceptance. It's about looking at reality for what it is, not what we wish it was. It's about making a conscious decision to stop pouring all our energy into a past we can't change, which then frees us up to actually live in the present. Now, this slide here tackles a huge misconception. Letting go and giving up are not the same thing, not even close. See, giving up is passive. It's avoiding the hard stuff, suppressing how you feel. But letting go, that's an active process. It means you're brave enough to confront your feelings, to accept reality, and to build the resilience to actually move forward. And the payoff for doing this hard work, it's huge. We're not just talking about feeling a little bit better. Letting go can spark real personal growth. It can improve your mental and even your physical health. It leads to better relationships. It builds courage, adaptability, and ultimately this amazing sense of emotional independence. That all sounds pretty great, right? So why is it so incredibly hard to actually do it? This next section is key. We're going to explore the deep-seated reasons we hold on so tightly, often to things that cause us so much pain. And just understanding this is a massive step forward. Well, the biggest reason is just one word: fear. The moment we decide to let go of something, a job, a relationship, a dream, we're stepping into the unknown. And that is terrifying. The pain we're holding on to might be awful, but you know what? At least it's familiar. It's the devil you know, and our brains will fight like crazy to stick with what's familiar. Now, this next one is a little more subtle, but it's incredibly powerful. Sometimes our struggles and our pain actually become part of our identity. We start to define ourselves by our trauma or our past failures. So letting go of that pain can feel like you're losing a part of yourself, like you'll have this big, empty void where your story used to be. Then, of course, there's guilt. This is often tied to low self-esteem. We might cling to a painful memory because, deep down, we feel like we deserve to be punished. We just refuse to forgive ourselves for a mistake we made, so we keep hitting the replay button, using the pain to punish ourselves over and over again. And you can't forget the ego. Oh, the ego hates to be wrong. It will fight you tooth and nail to protect a story where you are the good guy, where you are blameless. So we hold on to a grudge or a failed project, not because it helps us, but because letting go would mean we have to admit we messed up. And this leads us perfectly to this classic mental trap, the sunk cost fallacy. Have you ever stayed in a terrible job way too long because you'd already put in 5 years? Or a bad relationship because you'd invested so much love? That's this fallacy at work. We think, I can't waste my investment, so we just keep pouring more time and energy into a lost cause. And finally, it's good to remember that your brain isn't always helping you out here. We are biologically wired with a negativity bias. Think about it. For our ancestors, remembering the dangerous predator was a lot more important for survival than remembering a pretty sunset. For us, that means our brain latches onto negative experiences like Velcro, making it literally harder to let them go. So now we get why we hold on. Let's get really honest about the price we pay for it. This next section looks at the high cost of clinging to the past, the real-world toll it takes on every single part of our lives. So the big question is, how do you know? How do you know when you've crossed that line from just processing something to actually being imprisoned by it? Let's just hold that question in our minds for a minute as we look at some of the signs. The book lays out some really clear warning signs. See if any of these feel familiar to you. That constant feeling of frustration, agonizing over something that happened years ago, justifying a decision you know in your gut was wrong, or maybe just that deep, draining exhaustion and a general feeling of unhappiness. These aren't just bad moods, they are signals that you're holding on way too tight. And the impact is just devastating. You can see it right here. It hammers our mental health, fueling things like anxiety and depression. It takes a physical toll through chronic stress, which can lead to stuff like high blood pressure. And of course, it poisons our relationships, creating resentment and disconnection. The cost is just way too high. Okay, we've talked about the what, the why, and the consequences. Now we get to the most hopeful part of our journey, the how. This section is all about actionable strategies. This is our toolkit for finally putting those burdens down and moving forward. The book gives us this fantastic 5-step roadmap, and we're going to walk through it. It all starts with step 1, which is mindful detachment. Then we move to step 2, learning how to reframe our thoughts. Step 3 is all about acceptance. From there, we go to step 4, which is self-forgiveness. And we finish with step 5, making a conscious choice to shift our focus. So step 1 is mindful detachment. This isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's actually the opposite. It's about observing them without judgment. It's like taking a step back and saying, "Oh, hello, anger," or "I see you, sadness," without getting swept away by the storm. That little bit of space between you and the emotion, that's where you find your power. And a really practical part of this is giving those emotions somewhere to go. Don't let them just sit and fester inside you. Find a healthy outlet. Go for a run, call a friend you trust, write in a journal, paint something, anything to help you release that pent-up energy. All right, step 2 is reframing. You know that mental hamster wheel where you just replay your mistakes over and over? Reframing is how you get off of it. It's about consciously breaking that loop by asking a different question. Okay, what did I learn from this? How did this painful thing actually help me grow? It turns a heavy burden into a valuable lesson. And a huge part of reframing is letting go of this ideal self that haunts so many of us. You know, the person we think we should be by now. That image is a total mirage. Letting it go frees you up to focus on who you actually are right now and what you genuinely care about. Step 3, acceptance, is the real turning point. And listen, acceptance is not weakness. It's not throwing in the towel. It's an incredibly powerful and courageous stance. It's looking at the situation, acknowledging you can't change what happened, and declaring, okay, this is what I'm working with. Now, what's next? And this is so important to remember. Acceptance is a choice. It all begins with a simple, conscious decision. You might even want to say it out loud. I am choosing to let this go. That simple act helps you take your power back. You're no longer a victim of your past. You're the one in charge of your future. Step 4 is self-forgiveness. And for a lot of people, this is the hardest one. We can be so incredibly hard on ourselves. This step is about recognizing how much damage that guilt and shame are doing to you right now and choosing to offer yourself the same compassion you'd give to a good friend. To get to self-forgiveness, you usually have to let go of your pride. Pride is what keeps us stuck in that "I can't believe I did that" loop. But when you can accept your own fallibility, the fact that you're human and you're going to make mistakes, you can finally release that need to be perfect and stop blaming yourself. And that brings us to our final step. Number 5, shifting focus. Once you've done all that hard work, detaching, reframing, accepting, forgiving, the last act is to consciously redirect your attention. You take all that energy you were wasting on the past and you reinvest it in your present and your future. So how do you even start to shift your focus? Well, you can begin by asking yourself these simple but powerful questions. What genuinely brings you joy? What are you passionate about? What are your unique strengths? The answers to these questions become your new North Star, pulling you forward and away from the pain you're leaving behind. And this brings us to our beautiful final section, the freedom of release. So after all the hard work, what does it actually feel like? This is about the destination. The peace, the lightness, and all the new possibilities that open up when you finally, truly let go. And just remember this, it all starts with one decision to try, one moment of acceptance, one single step on this path. You don't have to have it all figured out, you just have to be willing to begin. In the end, letting go is like setting down a huge invisible backpack full of rocks that you didn't even realize you were carrying. And all of that energy you were using to haul it around is suddenly yours again to put into your health, your relationships, your creativity, your joy, right here, right now. I just love this quote from Lao Tzu. It captures the whole thing so perfectly. We cling to our pain because we think it's part of what I am. But letting go isn't about losing yourself. It's about creating the space to become who you truly might be. It's an act of becoming. And so we'll leave you with this one final thought to reflect on. You've come on this journey with us. You've seen the path. So now, what is just one thing, one story you tell yourself, one old belief, one painful memory that you might be ready to release today for the sake of your own peace?